RNIB. Opening up creative culture. Creating a journey. Louise Fryer.
What you're doing is you're taking a blind or partially sighted person on a journey, and it's a journey about which they have no idea until you give them that information verbally. So as a sighted person, you arrive in a gallery and you can see at a glance what's on display. There'll be textual information about which room you need to go to see a particular type of exhibit. And once you arrive in that room, you know something about the dimensions of the room, how many exhibits are on display, and you can go and target the thing that you're really fascinated by, or you can just simply work your way in a linear way around the gallery. For a blind or partially sighted person, that information isn't available to them at the start, and so as a describer, you need to give that to them. You need to say, we're in this particular space, this is the kind of thing it has on offer, these are the things we're going to visit, and it's going to take this amount of time. So people have some expectation of what they need to commit to, what they're likely to get out of the experience, and then you have to guarantee that they get it.
Doreen Gibbons.
If you give your visually impaired audience that information when they enter the art gallery, they're on a par. They can comment and they can use the gallery just as well as an able-bodied person. So everybody's on the same level and they can see the same things, they can understand the same things, they have the same information, they can make informed decisions about where they go, what they look at, what they're interested in, and enjoy their experience.
Louise Fryer.
So with each individual object, and also with the journey overall, it has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It has to have a summing up at the beginning, so a snapshot of what you're going to show people, what they're looking at that particular moment, then go into more detail, and then come to a satisfying conclusion. And people need to know how far along the route they've come. We've seen 6 exhibits, there are 4 more to go. That kind of information is really useful. And hopefully, what you're doing is you're feeding a person's imagination in the same sense that a sighted person has an interactive experience with whatever's put on display in front of them. One of the ways of approaching it is to think of it as a piece of art in its own right. So in the same way that an artist would choose how to frame their picture, you need to frame your description. And what I mean by that is you need to decide how much to include within the frame. So an artist who's creating a portrait will decide whether or not they're going to just give a picture of the head, whether they're going to include part of the chest, whether it's going to be a full figure, whether that figure is face on, whether that figure is partly disappearing out of the frame. So they've selected from all of the visual information available to them which parts they're going to show you. And it's the same way in terms of creating an audio description. You have a whole visual array to choose from. You have an inordinate number of words that you can choose to capture that visual information. And you need to make a selection. And you need to make a selection for reasons that are linked to the exhibit, that have an integrity about them, and that give people the information in a way that they are able to process. So you don't want to bombard them with endless amounts of information. You don't want randomly pieced together bits of information that requires them to keep redrawing their mental image of what you're talking about. So you need to be clear about what you're including, why you're including it, and you need to structure it in such a way that it's an aesthetic experience that's as satisfying, even though it's mediated by words, as it would be if you were perceiving that visual information for yourself.
RNIB, supporting blind and partially sighted people.
Logos for Arts Council England, Punch Records, Imagineer Productions and Ironbridge Gorge Museum Trust.